Hi guys, this is Jürgen Rasmussen. Welcome to the Provocative Hypnosis vlog. I thought I would share with you a real life case story. And this is a client. I just finished doing a 2.5 hour session with a new client. So this has been our first session. And I'm doing work with a woman who has had a shitload of allergies her whole life. So at least since she has been a few months old, she's had a bunch of allergies. And as she's gotten older, she's added even more allergies to that list. And at the end of the first session, we tested one of them, which was potatoes. And she would usually have pretty strong symptoms and a lot of itching in her fingers and skin afterwards. And she passed this first test with flying colors, which is really, really cool. And what's cool about this is that this is a client I'm very sure that I would not have been able to help just a few short years ago. And I'll tell you exactly why. Um, the typical approaches that people who do allergy work who are successful with is hypnotic regression work, where you evoke the emotions behind the allergy, use an affect bridge back in time, and clear up the memories. And this can be very successful, but it really helps if the client then has developed his or her allergies at least after the age of 3, 4, 5, because it's very hard to really access anything before that. We don't really have autobiographical memories from age 3.5 months. Now, even in the past when I did regression work, I would still try to do regression work with those people, but I was not successful. I was not successful in cases where people had developed their allergies when they were a few years old, a year old, 2 years old, that type of stuff. Regression work just did not work for these clients. Now, another typical approach is using anchoring from NLP. You know, the classic Robert Dilts, Tim Holbom's, Susie Smith type approaches where you look for a counterexample to the allergy. So let's say that they're allergic to cats but not dogs. You would then have them imagine being around a dog, anchor that, and then transfer those resources towards being with a cat. And this can often work if you can find a clear counterexample that's similar enough to the allergy, but not quite. But what I discovered when doing this particular type of work in the past is when people have a lot of allergies and it's hard to find counterexamples, that often doesn't really work either. So of course, this particular client is a work in progress. It's the first session, but she's passed the first tests with flying colors. And I have to tell you, neither regression work nor using counterexamples, I'm very sure would have worked with this particular client. There are really no clear counterexamples, and she doesn't even really have a history much of not being allergic. So what did I do instead? Well, my orientation was what I call the psychological illusion model, which is what I teach. And the psychological illusion model is based upon the notion that our experience is illusory. And when I say illusory, it doesn't mean non-existent, but it means that when you begin to really look at it, it's revealed to not be what it initially appears to be. Of course, it's not that either, but that's another topic for discussion. It's also based upon the notion that the mind and the body is not separate. So what I did with this particular client is that I started off by telling her a lot of stories about how the mind-body split was fiction. And then I told her a lot of metaphors about um, how our experience is illusory, how we really experience a thought construct, and that our experience is generated inside of us and projected onto what seems to be objects and other people and events. So a lot of analogies and metaphors around that. Um, and these analogies and metaphors were told after already having kind of demolished the whole mind-body split and presenting allergies as a phobia of the immune system. Just like with someone who's phobic in the elevator, it's obviously not the elevator, it's our interpretation of what it means to be in the elevator, right? So it's obviously not the dog or the cat, it's our psychophysiological response or interpretation of dog and cat that actually generates the symptoms. She had a trauma that she came in for, so I used the psychological illusion model to help her to discover that she doesn't really experience a future, and that she can't experience a future event, and that she can't really experience a past nor a past event. And she was able to see through that illusion in a very compelling way, to see that everything that's experienced is actually a thought construct right now, and that whatever you think is happening right now is per definition not being experienced. Meaning, if you think, oh my God, what if I'm going to die? The fact that you think that means that you're not actually experiencing dying, right? So she had a pretty good insight into the fact that whatever you think, you're not experiencing, and that you're not experiencing a past nor a future. So this kind of took away the seeming power that her past of being an allergic seemed to have over her. And the particular trauma that she had, I helped her first remember it, and on a scale from 0 to 10, she was like at a 9 in intensity. But then I had her think it again, knowing that it's a new thought right now, knowing that she's thinking, and knowing that the feeling of stress in the body is like the rumble strips on the highway, telling you that you're forgetting that you're thinking. So she went from a 9 to a 5 to a 0 with the exact same historical facts. So this really loosened the grip that a illusory past seemed to have onto her. And she had quite an insight. I think I've saved her from months or years of trauma therapy that she had decided to sign up for. And I said, now, since you're here for allergies, that means that your mind will have associated everything we've done here today for that. So I said to her, let's test. And I asked her in advance to bring some of these different foods. And so I had her take up her potatoes and a board to kind of cut them. And she had this specific memory recently of feeling the allergy before she even tasted it, like just by beginning to cut. So I asked her about that and gave her some suggestions, and she produced the symptoms. And this was before bringing out the potato, right, in the office. So I said, isn't that fascinating how you can have the allergic symptoms and there's no potato? What does that tell you about where the symptoms are actually generated? Like, this is a miscarriage of justice. The potato was innocent. It was never actually the potato. So then I had her place a sign in front of her that said neutral as an anchor, had her relax her body. And I started asking her the same questions again about the potato, but just knowing that it's a new thought. And she did it, and now there was no allergic symptom whatsoever. Same, in quotation mark, thought. Of course, it's a brand new thought, but no allergic response. Then I had her bring up her tray and her knife and start cutting the potato. No symptom whatsoever. So I was then able to tell her, and to also taste it, and no symptom whatsoever. And I was then able to say to her, isn't it fascinating how you had the symptoms when there was not even a potato there? And now with the potato there and working with it and tasting it, there's no symptom whatsoever. And she got it. She got it. And she also got that just the same way as someone who doesn't understand the nature of film might be concerned that, yeah, I know I can see a movie with a train moving towards me, but not necessarily a shooting scene. You know, she's now able to see that this means that she can do all these various allergies. So I've given her a particular task to begin to test the others in the exact same way. And of course, it's not a completed case. It's the first session, but I'm optimistic. I thought I would share that with you. And it was especially cool to do, knowing that in all likelihood, the classical anchoring techniques and the regression techniques would not have worked. But in this particular case, working from a psychological illusion model perspective was something the client could still really relate to. So if you have allergies or other psychosomatic issues and you'd like to take a shot at resolving it, I'm here. You can reach me at provocativehypnosis.com. I've done a lot of this type of work. I also have a product called Changing the Allergic Response, which has several sessions and follow-up interviews with live clients that I did with my good friend and colleague Howard Cooper. Howard sells it, so if you're curious about that, if you'd like to learn to do that type of work with your clients, you can find it at Howard's website, rapidchange.works. Or I'm not sure if that's true, but just punch in Howard Cooper Rapid Change Works and you'll get the website. Click the tab that says resources for therapists, and you'll find that particular product. So anyways, I hope this was useful. It might inspire you to change your own allergic response or learn how to do it. Till next time.